Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh to Dr. Azmahani. My name is SITI Halila binti Selamat from class BA2505B, and today I will be presenting an individual presentation about COVID-19 industry. The industry that I will cover in this presentation is the e-commerce industry, or also known as online business. I will be explaining about the effect of COVID-19 outbreak towards the industry. In this presentation, I will explain more about what is the effect of COVID-19 outbreak towards the industry, the second one, who were affected by it, and the last one, how to overcome the effect by giving some recommendations to firms and businesses involved in the e-commerce industry. This presentation will consist of, first, the introduction part, where I will briefly describe about the point that will be presented. The next one is the body part, where I will explain more about the point, giving examples and evidence of data to support the point. And the last one is the conclusion part, where I will summarize the presentation and give some recommendations. What is e-commerce actually? E-commerce or online business are business model that lets firms and individuals buy and sell things over the internet. There are a lot of e-commerce platforms these days such as Shopee and Lazada. Other than that, a lot of firms also have created their own e-commerce platform such as Guardian and Tesco, where consumers can purchase their products online. This year, when COVID-19 outbreak occurred and had devastated many people, firms, industries, and countries, we thought that the e-commerce industry have the upper hand during this time period, since they can operate as usual despite the social distancing being imposed by government. However, there are also some issues in some parts of the industry that have been affected by the pandemic outbreak. What happened, how it happened, and who affected by it, I will explain more throughout this presentation. First, what is the effect of COVID-19 outbreak towards the e-commerce industry? In this presentation, I will be explaining about one of the effects, which is the disruption of supply chain. How is the disruption of supply chain affecting the industry? I will explain more in the next slide. In this slide, I will explain about the disruption of supply chain and how it affecting the industry. Firstly, before that, what is a supply chain actually? A supply chain is a network between a company and its suppliers to produce and distribute products to their final consumers. In this slide, I will explain how the disruption of supply chain due to COVID-19 outbreak affected the e-commerce industry by using a timeline infographic. So first, we will go back to January and February this year, where COVID-19 was first detected in Malaysia. Around the same time, China had also extended their Chinese New Year holidays. These two events had caused a huge delay in logistics, where many Malaysia's imports have been held back in China and cannot arrive on time. This causes inventory shortages, revenue and cash flows got affected. Many firms and businesses started to struggle during this time period. Next, we will move forward to March 2020, where Malaysia just started implementing MCO, or Movement Control Order. Other than that, Malaysia government also decided to close down international borders in order to contain the spread of COVID-19. During this time period, the e-commerce firms continue to struggle in order to fulfill consumers' demand despite being able to operate due to the scarcity of supply. Next, we will move forward to May of 2020. During this month, Malaysia import has fallen to its lowest point in history at only 53 million ringgit. As we all know, during MCO, the demand in the e-commerce industry had increased, but the firms and sellers have less supply due to manufacturers producing less goods because of lack of imported raw materials from China. This created a situation where more demand and less supply in the e-commerce industry. Next, we will move forward to June and July of 2020. During this time period, the supply chain began recovering as the number of COVID-19 has reduced. However, the condition is still uncertain since COVID-19 outbreak is still around. Next, we will move forward to August until October 2020. During these 3 months, the Malaysia import has increased quite significantly. However, if compared on a year-on-year basis, on October, Malaysia import declined by 6% if compared to October in 2019. Other than that, also in October, the intermediate and capital goods arrivals declined 6.1% and 17.1% respectively. The Purchasing Managers Index or PMI also decreased from September to October. What is PMI actually? PMI is a composite single figure indicator of manufacturing performance. In September, the PMI is 49. However, it decreased to 48.5 in October. It shows that Malaysia's manufacturers' performance has decreased, and this also affecting the e-commerce industry, where the manufacturers produce less goods. This is the table of percentage of Malaysia import based on countries. As we can see in this table, China is Malaysia's biggest exporter, where it accounts almost a quarter of Malaysia's total import at 22%. Thus, that is why when COVID-19 hit China, it will directly impact on Malaysia's economy. Other than that, Malaysia import from other ASEAN countries also have decreased. For example, some of the ASEAN countries in this table is Singapore, Thailand, and Indonesia. This graph is about Malaysia import from November 2019 until October 2020. As we can see, on May 2020, Malaysia import hit its lowest point at only 53 billion ringgit, and it continued to increase quite significantly from June until October. However, on October, if compared to last year's October, the import has fell by 6%, and during this October month, the PMI also decreased from 49 to 48.5. I already explained this in previous slide. So the next one is how the disruption of supply chain affecting the e-commerce industry. So who were affected by this is the firms and businesses in the e-commerce industry. In this slide, I will explain how the firms and businesses were affected. So first, when there is disruption in the supply chain, it will cause supply or input disruption in the firms. The firm will not have enough raw materials to operate. Thus, this can lead to inefficiency in the firms because the firms cannot operate at full capacity. When the firms cannot operate at full capacity, they will produce less goods. As we all know, during the COVID-19 outbreak, the e-commerce industry experienced rise in demand. However, many manufacturers had downsized their producing due to lack of supplies. Thus, there are less supply in the market to cater with the high demand. This caused the firm to lose revenue because they are unable to fulfill all the consumers' demand. When they lose revenue, they will get less profit. And the last question to be answered is how to overcome this situation. In this part, I will give some recommendations in terms of short-term planning that firms and businesses in the e-commerce industry can apply. So firstly, the firms can start conducting an end-to-end supply chain risk assessment in order to reduce costs and damages. Next, the firms can try to renegotiate the supplier contracts in order to get better contract that can benefit both parties during this time period. The next one is the firms can try to make some innovations in their current product or services, or maybe they can produce new products or offer different services. For example, the firm can produce hand sanitizers, face masks, or disinfectants, or any other products that been booming in sales during this time period. This allows firms to continue to generate income or revenue. And the last one is the firm must reduce purchasing to the minimum. The firm has to focus their resources on important parts of the business in order to survive. And other than that, investment are not encouraged during this uncertain time. As a conclusion, based on this paper, based on this presentation, we can conclude that due to supply chain disruption, the e-commerce, logistics, and manufacturing industry had been affected during this pandemic outbreak. However, during this time, Malaysia has been one of the best countries in fighting COVID-19. Other than that, our country also have recovered from 1998 financial crisis. That is why I am confident that we can overcome these struggles in the future. The pandemic outbreak also made us realize about something, and this encouraged us to evolve and improve in many ways. I think that's all from me. Thank you for watching this presentation and have a good day.